Hello, hi, how you guys doing? Welcome to another edition of Inside Guilford. And I just thought it would be nice is to be able to sit down like we did about a couple months ago, be it after the Hurricane Sandy, just to chat a little bit with Joe, especially how busy we've been. We haven't really did any shows, and we've done, this is our third one in this past week. I mean, me and Joe's been very busy. If you guys have not been following Joe, he's been really active in a lot of stuff, and he is now almost a card holder actor in New York, and he's been down in New York a lot, in New Jersey, doing a lot of different shows. And just tell us a little bit about some of the shows you've been on. Which one was your first one that you got put on?
The very first show I got put on actually happened 2 weeks after our first interview, when you interviewed me about my book. And if you recall from our interview, I was running Team Muscle Car. We teach teams how to restore muscle cars and life skills and things of that nature. And I have also rented my car to various movie productions, and one of our cars was on Longworth Theater for a time for another production. So I was online about 2 weeks after we first met, and looking to see if any productions were looking for vehicles that I might have. You know, we had DeLorean, the Mustangs, and things like that. Didn't find anything like that. I came across a site, the ID Discovery Channel, that does all those murder reenactment stories, was looking for, they were looking to cast local talent to take part in one of their shows taking place in Danbury. And years ago, I used to perform a variety of different things. I played piano, I used to sing, and had also done some acting, both in small local productions in college and various other things. And then once my accident happened, all that went away. Life took over, my daughter was born, and priorities and everything changed. But I saw this listing, and I thought I could possibly fit one or two of the roles. But I also knew, just because of 30 years experience sitting in a wheelchair, how different people may perceive. When they look at me, they may not see the opportunity or the ability to be able to portray whatever. So rather than responding directly to the open casting call, I sent an email to the casting director, who lives and works out in LA, Los Angeles, explained my situation, and that I was afraid that someone might just see my picture sitting in the chair and say, let's go on to the next one. The casting agent I had written to, her name is Kelly Lerner, and come to find out, she's had epilepsy ever since she was 10, and was very aware of people's perceptions, and maybe not discriminations, but just the way people view people who are perceived as different. She wrote me back immediately, I think within 5 minutes of my email, and said, I know exactly what you mean. I've been in this business, since I grew up. I've had epilepsy since I was 10, and I'm going to put you in the show. And so I guess she sent my information back to the director, and they chose me to be this guy named Tony in this restaurant up in Danbury. It was actually quite a horrible story. A nephew murdered his uncle, and then on the meat saw in the back of the refrigerator, in the back of the restaurant, in the kitchen, he cut up his uncle on a meat saw. It was a really horrible story. It really was, and true, unfortunately. That was one day up in Danbury, very little money, but I met a couple people on set. One was a gentleman named Tommy McGinnis, who is a SAG card carrying member. Another was a young woman named Sina Stockman. And all throughout the day, because when you get on a set for anything, except Inside Guilford, because you guys are so fast and direct, and you know what you're doing, you get on any set for a production, and most of it, you're sitting around all day. Different scenes are being shot, things are getting moved around and set up and all. So you have a lot of time to sit and talk to your fellow co-workers, your co-stars, as it speaks. So as we're sitting there throughout this 12-hour day, they're telling me, well, go onto this website. If you are interested in more work, go onto this website. There's casting networks, there's Actors Access, and give me all these tips and tricks. And these same two people have stuck with me since last August. And the three of us have been on several TV shows together. Tom and I had, instead of background roles, we had real roles on a couple other productions. And the more I'm doing this, the more I'm finding out, well, while auditions and being out there working and everything is really what everyone needs to do who wants to be a success, it truly is a lot more who you know or who might know someone else.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like, well, I know this big, I know Martin Scorsese, so, but it's a little connections that just work their way into your life, and tremendous opportunities grow from that.
Wow. And it did. I mean, you've been on many different shows as extras, and and flying everywhere. So auditioning places.
It's gotten busy. I'm never ever thought I'd be sitting here discussing this a year ago, because a year ago this didn't even figure into anything I was doing, and I have to say I'm enjoying it. I'm having such a blast. It is so much fun. But yes, we've been. I started out doing extra or background work on some very small productions where there might only be 2 or 3 of us on set, and on some very large productions like Smash. I was on Smash twice, and did a 2-episode, back-to-back 2-episode run on 30 Rock, which was a huge production right in the center of New York City, outdoors. But each of them are so much fun. The most, what I've appeared on the most has been on ID Discovery. Was in Unusual Suspects, 3 episodes of Deadly Sins. I Killed My BFF is another show they have, and the last was Fatal Encounters. So let's see, I portrayed, and the roles get a little bigger each time I go out with them. Let's see, first I was a bad lawyer. My client on appeal, and this rarely happens on appeal, she was originally sentenced to 5 years. On appeal, instead of her sentence being reduced or even kept the same, I must have done such a poor job, the judge gave her 10 years instead of 5. So I was a bad lawyer, a bad banker, a bad husband, and a bad senator.
Well, I think you're being stereotyped as a bad person.
Or typecast or whatever. Yes. So in any case, those were the ID Discovery shows. We did 2 episodes with 30 Rock, and Tina Fey was carrying the whole scene and hit me in the back of the head because I made the joke that she thought was funny, but thought I shouldn't have made. Let's see, we did Smash with Grace Messing, and that was a tremendous production. The way they put everything together, and the concert scenes they would do. And let's see what else. There were...
Now back to Smash. That's a big show. I mean, there's a lot of extras in the audience and everything. That's a big production, I would think.
Yes.
A big thing.
Yep. I wasn't in any of the concert or the award shows that they had, primarily because the wheelchair just wouldn't fit into the particular scene. But yeah, on some of the stage performances, they would have up to 400 people in the audience. And the unfortunate thing, Smash has been canceled.
Yeah.
My
wife is like really sad about that right now.
There's a big resurgence. A lot of fans are getting together and have started a writing campaign trying to get them to bring it back on air. And occasionally that does work. It worked with, I don't know if you remember the show Jericho.
Yeah.
It came out for season 1, and CBS killed it. And over that summer they had such a tremendous fan outpouring that they did bring it back for another season. Whether or not that's going to happen with Smash, that was the other thing. People are wondering if I have, like, the Seinfeld curse, because I was on Smash, that's been canceled. I was supposed to be on 66 Park Avenue, but I didn't want to do it. That's been canceled. I was on Made in Jersey, and that was probably one of the most beautiful days of filming we had. It was in the middle of Central Park. I got to meet and work directly with Eric Stoltz. He was the star of the movie Mask with Cher. He was in Pulp Fiction, and he's an incredible human being. And he was also in a movie called Water Dance, which was about a newly paralyzed man going through rehab and making it back to life. And he specifically was looking for and wanted to cast a person in a wheelchair. And we worked out like how to text while I was rolling, and it was a great day. Unfortunately, Made in Jersey canceled. There was another show, Deception, and we had a tremendous crew on that one, canceled. But now that everything I've been on has been canceled, we've done some pilots, one for ABC called The Secret Lives of Husbands and Wives. And in addition to that, I did start out doing a lot of background work because that's really one of the easiest ways to get into the business. Every day, believe it or not, New York City, while not quite as busy as Los Angeles, has any number of productions going on. There are usually at least a dozen TV shows that are filmed in New York City. Wow. And a lot of there may be on the street, maybe in warehouses, wherever. There's always movies going on. Like right now, they're just wrapping up Spider-Man, another Spider-Man movie. They're shooting the remake of the Ironsides TV show with Blair Underwood cast as the lawyer in the wheelchair or detective in the wheelchair now.
I thought you would be the one in the wheelchair.
Well, it's kind of funny. There's a growing swell of opposition by the disabled community to the way the show was cast, because they did not look to wheelchair users to play that role. And to a degree I understand it, part of the show involves a lot of flashbacks and involves Blair Underwood, I believe, as a detective prior to his injury. I think he gets shot in the line of duty or something like that. So they needed an actor who could portray himself prior to his injury, running around or walking around, and someone afterwards using a wheelchair. Now, from what I understand, they've used consultants and have had people with disabilities on set to make sure that they're portraying it correctly. It's funny, I was being interviewed just an hour ago by a woman up in Boston, and we were talking about this issue, about whether or not a person with a disability should be the one portraying a person with a disability on TV or in the movies. And there's probably no simple answer for that. It depends on what the director is looking for. It depends on, is there qualified, does the person with a disability have the right skills? Is he a good enough actor? Is he the right shape, size, color? There are so many variables. Ideally, yes, a person with a disability should be the one playing the role in movie or TV. Does it always happen? No. With casting, it's so ambiguous. When I go for an audition, you never know. You have no idea what's in the heads of the people that you're auditioning for. Do they want a skinny person, a heavy person, a pretty person, a plain-looking person? It's totally arbitrary. And the unfortunate thing, it's one of the few businesses where you never find out why you didn't get the job. There's no after interview or anything like that. If you don't hear from them, you didn't get the job. That's one of the frustrating things. Also, you don't know, the only time you know how you did your audition is if you get the call that says, hey Joe, you got the job. There's rarely, I think only twice, I've been on 62 auditions so far, and only twice I actually get a call saying, thank you for auditioning, we're not going to use you. And I actually prefer that rather than sitting waiting day after day or week after week wondering, did I get the part? Did I get the part? So it's a frustrating world to work in, but it's the most exciting work I've ever done. It really is.
Cool. Now you also have done some like commercials thingies. You did one with a hospital up in Massachusetts, I believe it was. Could you talk a little bit about that, and
Sure.
Why did they pick you to do that one?
Again, I don't know. Sometimes, depending on what the project is, they will cast off the look of the person. They'll just look at his headshot, or in my case, a body shot. Because my headshot was, from here up, and then some other pictures will show the wheelchair or whatever the case may be. Sometimes, in addition to a headshot, they want to do a phone interview, or you go in person, audition for the role. Apparently it was for Lehigh Medical, which essentially is probably like our Yale down here in New Haven. It's a huge medical conglomerate who actually was getting bigger at the time, and so they wanted commercials to demonstrate all the different services and things that they could provide. And they did a neat thing when filming. I, of course, was rolling and doing my lines, from my wheelchair while I was moving. And so the camera would capture my movement. they put the cameraman in another wheelchair next to me, and someone pushed him and matched me move for move as I was rolling, and it starts out, almost looks like a gunslinger. My hands are on the wheels, and I'm like, you know, as if I'm about to draw. And they did a tremendous job with that. Let's see, other commercials I've done.
You did CPTV. What was that with the Marine, with vets?
CPTV is an amazing entity. It's Connecticut Public Television, the statewide equivalent of what we do here at GCTV. Connecticut Public Television and Connecticut Public Broadcasting. I have taken a large floor in their office building up on Asylum Street in Hartford, and they've turned it into a training facility for both, primarily for veterans, returning veterans from Iraq, Afghanistan, anywhere, really anywhere, doesn't have to be those two theaters, who don't have to be disabled but have to be a veteran or a veteran's family member. And they will teach them, it's a year-long course, and teach them whatever aspect of the entertainment industry they want to work in, whether it's television production, camera work, sound, audio, engineering, and it's fully grant supported. There's no cost to the individual themselves. And with that, I took up a veteran herself, Kathleen Warner, Jesse's mom, because she was a vet, and she's also going to appear in the commercial as well. And it was just a horrible day outside. The weather was coming down and everything, and but inside the studios, they have done such a great job, and this entire program is open to everyone from around the entire country. And as an offshoot of that, it's like we were talking before, it's like who you know or who you might happen to interact with. While I was up there, I'd spoken to one of the other actresses, named of Casey McDougal, who happens to be involved with a program called, let me get it right, Institute for Human-Centered Design. And what it is, it's an organization that puts together all types of programs, but to deal with making our world accessible, whether to people with physical disabilities, mobility impairments, sensory, cognitive impairments, but also not just for those populations, but also to the world in general. If there's a curb cut on a sidewalk for a person in a wheelchair to get up onto the sidewalk easily, it's used by people on bikes, skateboards, moms with strollers, people with walkers, and that's where their vision of universal design comes in. It doesn't have to be special, it just has to work for the world. But in any case, this young woman is affiliated with this program. This program is having an anniversary celebration for the Americans with Disabilities Act in July, and was looking to put together a panel of, they're calling them comedians with disabilities or performers with disabilities. And as a result of my meeting Casey introduced me to these people at the Institute, and then at the end of July, I'll be taking part in this panel up in Boston. So it's amazing how all these connections just happen to take place.
Wow. Any other shows you've been on? Any other?
Well, the other
stuff?
two other really neat things happened as a result of this, and one of these was another chance encounter. I'd gone to an audition for a voiceover audition to do another commercial, and I still don't know if I got this, and this was months ago. But in any case, I ran into a gentleman outside, and we talked for about 5 minutes. I gave him my card, and about a month later, he sends me a flyer for Ralph Lauren and Macy's is looking for actors, they're looking for real people to take part in this new campaign they're running all summer long called American Voices. And it was shot by the world famous photographer. This guy is amazing, Mark Seliger. He does stills and videos. He's done most of the Rolling Stones covers. He does the Vogue magazine covers. His creativity knows no bounds. And we spent a snowy day in his studio, and the campaign was just released about 3 weeks ago. It's on their website. There's going to be TV commercials. So again, another chance encounter turned into something really, really amazing. Well, one of the most unique things that happened out of all this is I go down the city a lot. Take the train down. I don't drive down anymore because it's just horrific to do so. And last September, the New York Taxi Commission started a program called Accessible Dispatch, which started out with a fleet of 233 wheelchair accessible taxis. Prior to that, if I were out on the sidewalk in New York City, the options for me getting around and getting specifically where I had to go were very limited, because less than half of the subway stations are accessible. Those that are, and they try and do their very best, but unfortunately the elevators get used by the indigent for what you can imagine, and the smell is absolutely horrendous. There's a bus service, but again, if you need to get somewhere very specific, could be 2, 3, 4 transfers via bus on and off a lift in the chair to go. But there's now accessible dispatch where I press an app on my phone, GPS finds me, and an accessible taxi automatically gets dispatched to where I am, to my location, and takes me wherever I have to go. Well, evidently, I was using the program so much that the company contacted me and said, we'd like to talk to you. Well, why are you using the program so much? You know, what are you doing down there? And come to find out, the actual dispatching itself is done by Metro Taxi, our New Haven taxi system. The dispatch office is in West Haven, and via computer and phone line and everything else and texting, they run the accessible dispatch program from New York City. And sort of like Victor Kayyem, I think it was with Gillette razors, not only does he use the service, he's now the spokesman. I've now become the spokesman and consultant for accessible dispatch in New York City. So it's one of these connection things that I keep rolling.
Yeah, because I was just going to ask you how you get around in New York because of the being in the wheelchair and stuff like that.
It can be a challenge. Fortunately, I'll tell you, if not for this service, I'm not sure I would still be doing it, because the first 2 months, because I started going down the week after I did my first appearance on The Usual Suspects, started going down working in the city about 2 or 3 days a week. Driving down I-95, which could take 2 hours. There was one time it took 5 hours because of traffic and backups and everything else. Getting down there, finding parking, and especially if it was a day where I needed to be in 2 or 3 different locations, it was horrific. And after I blew an audition, because the trip that should take 2 hours took 5 hours, and I was an hour late for the audition, I blew it. I came home that night and I said, I have to find something, I have to do something different. So I found out I could get Metro North train out of New Haven down to the city. That's easy, and usually always works well unless there's a train derailment or, God forbid, something worse. But also, in that particular night, I found accessible dispatch. It had only been up and running, I think, about 3 weeks before I discovered it. And if not for that, I'm not sure I would still be working as much as I am in the city, because mobility, I mean, New York City is tough anyways. It's such an old city, and so many buildings are just physically cannot be made accessible. You take any of the brownstone buildings, most of them will have at least 20 steps to get up to the front door. And if that's the case, that ramp would have to be at least probably 220 feet long. And the townhouses here, the sidewalk is only 4 feet wide, and then you're on the street. There is no room for a ramp. So in addition to the architectural barriers, and because New York City is so old, it's a challenge already, but being able to move around just helps so much, it really does.
Is there anything you're planning on being, or anything that's going to come up in the future? Or?
This journey or path, whatever I'm on, has taken a couple of very unusual routes. And the one I find most amazing, and the one I'm having the absolute most fun with of all, I signed up for an acting school back in December because everyone thinks, oh, maybe I could be a good actor. No, there's so much that you need to know. And one of the requirements for taking part in this acting school was you have to take voice lessons, singing lessons. Now, I haven't sung professionally or out in front of anyone except in the shower for over 30 years. So this past January, I started taking voice lessons once a week, and I was really, really enjoying it, but not really sure what I was going to do with it. I was enjoying, I mean, my vocal coach is Phil Hall. He's worked with Broadway stars for the last 30 years, and he's just an amazing guy, the range he gets people to work. And this last Saturday, I auditioned for with his encouragement, because I don't know if I would have had the guts to do it myself. But he encouraged me to audition for the Manhattan Opera Repertory Ensemble, and I'm now a baritone singer in the opera Aida, and our first performance is August 25th, in Italian.
I don't know if I could even do that in English. Forget about Italian and learning the Italian language and everything. But that's why I wanted you to come on. It's been very busy. Actually, the last time you were on as an interviewer, me interviewing your book, was actually about a year ago, and it's been so much stuff going on since then.
A little bit.
A lot of stuff.
A little bit. And unfortunately, not that it's ground to a halt, but things haven't moved as they were moving with the book. In part, mostly thanks to same reason why our studio was down for so long, in part due to Hurricane Sandy, in that it wiped out an editor's office who was doing the final editing on the book, and my agent's office had also gotten damaged during that time. And as part of the rebuilding process, things fall through the cracks. So now the book has been completely professionally re-edited, and now it's being shopped to other publishers again. So who knows? But I'm busy enough that it will come. It will come. I want it to come, but what will be will be.
So we'll just wrap it up, and that's what Joe's been doing. I thought it would be exciting just to be able to interview him and talk to him about his life going back and forth to New York and New Jersey all the time, and he's been doing like a little blog on Facebook, and I know a lot of people in Guilford has been wanting to know what's exactly been going on in Joe's life and everything. So he's busy. Maybe one of these days he's gonna be too big of a star to be on this show.
No.
Maybe. Yes.
No. No, this is where it all began. This is where it all began.
So, but like always, just like Joe and other shows that we have put on, if you have anything interesting in your life, if you play music, whatever, come on down, get a hold of us. We're on Facebook, Inside Guilford. Just go to Inside Guilford. You'll see me and Joe's ugly picture up on the thing, and click on it, like us, send us a message through there.
Did you just say me and Ugly Joe's picture?
Yes, I did just say
okay.
you and Ugly
Thank you.
Joe.
All right, just want to be sure.
I can't.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. A special thank you for Jesse Warner on the cameras and Amanda Stickley in the sound room, like usual, my usual crew that I have. And I think that's it. Have a good day now.
Take care.